Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over a multi-day severe weather outbreak for parts of the southern plains and into the southeast. We're going to be going over my personal forecast for this event in terms of how severe I think it will be. We're going to be showcasing 4 different new types of maps for you guys that I personally handcrafted, so I'm very excited to show you that. And this is going to be my first severe weather forecast video in about a year since last year, and about a couple months since the last severe weather season. So we have a brand new slate of graphics and products for you guys that we're going to be showcasing over the spring and summertime, and hopefully you guys do enjoy them. If you do have any critiques or comments about the different graphics, let me know down below, because I will still be updating them and changing all the colors, the style of them. So tell me down below what your thoughts on the different products are. So here's what the current National Weather Service page looks like, and it is actually quite inactive as of right now. We have some winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings back up through the Pacific Northwest, as well as some high wind warnings and wind advisories for parts, or actually just high wind warnings for parts of Montana and Wyoming, with some wind advisories back through Oregon, Washington, and a little bit of California, with some more high wind warnings and wind advisories back through parts of California, Nevada, and into Arizona. Yesterday, your high temperature for the entire U.S. was 95 degrees in Falcon Lake, Texas, which is in extreme southern Texas. The low temperature for the entire lower 48 was in Copper Basin, Idaho, where they got to negative 17 degrees Fahrenheit. The highest precipitation report, and granted, this was on Mount Hood, Oregon, so this is a few thousand, several thousand feet up in elevation. So this was mostly in snow. If you were to kind of liquefy that, and if you were to turn all that snow into liquid, this is how much liquid you would have gotten: 1.36 inches. That was your highest report yesterday. And your highest snowfall report was in Englewood, Colorado. That's right near Denver. They had multiple reports over a foot, actually several reports over a foot in those areas. So before we get into it, let's look at what the Storm Prediction Center is showing for this event. We currently just have a marginal risk, and it doesn't look as of right now that they're going to actually put up a slight risk. I don't think this meets the criteria for a slight risk, but they have a general marginal risk that goes through Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, and into Mississippi. So this is for today. Now let's look at some of the individual risks. This is your chance of hail. We have about a 5% chance from Dallas back through Shreveport, and then back through into central Mississippi. And then here's your chances of wind damage, and we have, again, right around a 5% chance through parts of Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, and central Mississippi. Here's your day 2 outlook. So this goes for tomorrow. We're looking at a marginal risk still in effect. Now, I don't know whether they will actually put this up, but I think they might put up a slight risk. If they were to put it out anywhere, I think it's most likely that they put it up through here, because there is the very slim chance of some sort of tornado activity. It would just be very small tornadoes, isolated tornadoes at that. But that would be the area that I would look at for potential tornado risk with this event. It looks like this is going to be more of a small hail producer and also a wind maker. I don't think there will be too much in the way of tornadoes, and we're going to talk about that more later on in the video. So we have that marginal risk up for parts of the southeast. Now this is what your hail outlook looks like. 5% chance for parts of Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, a little bit of Georgia, and southern Tennessee there. We also have a 5% chance of wind damage. And that goes back through parts of Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Alabama, as well as a very tiny part of Tennessee there. And let's start talking about your simulated radar. We're going to time this out for you guys. So this would be by right around 6 p.m. tonight Central Time. We're looking at all rain. We're not really dealing with any snow except for some of the higher elevations in New Mexico, but this is going to be an all rain event for the most part. We have some scattered in those yellow and oranges, and you're going to even see a couple reds and pinks pop up soon. That's where you're dealing with the thunderstorm activity. Now we have a lot of energy further to the south, but what we don't have is any cold air underneath that to really create a thunderstorm. So the areas, even though you're further south, you have warmer temperatures. Theoretically, you have more prime conditions for thunderstorms. But when you take into account that you don't have that cold air underneath that you have further to the north, that's going to limit the severe weather activity. So I think this is again going to be that corridor, at least for tonight into tomorrow morning, that you're going to be dealing with that severe weather. So overnight, and because of all that daytime heating we had temperatures that got up into the 60s and are still expected to get up into the 60s over some of these areas. That's going to allow some of these thunderstorms to really pop up. So we're looking at more of a sporadic type of event. We're not dealing with a line of storms. This is going to be supercell activity where we just see little dots of heavy rain pop up on radar here and there, and that's what we're seeing on the NAM 3cam model, which is a very high resolution model. It's very good with these severe weather outbreaks, and I think it's going to be the main model of choice when we're looking at most of these severe weather outbreaks. Then as we get later tonight, so this is by 12 p.m. The last frame was for 9 p.m. Here's by or 12 a.m. This is by 12 a.m. tomorrow morning. So we're dealing with some of that heavier rain back through Arkansas, Mississippi, and into northern Texas, a little bit of Oklahoma as well. But notice this fine line through central Arkansas, back through central and northern Arkansas, northern Mississippi, southern Tennessee, where you start to see more of just the yellow, the dark green, and it's kind of more blended in. That's where we start to go from severe weather to non-severe thunderstorms. So this is where we're dealing with mainly just heavy rain, not really any thunder, no hail, no risk of tornadoes really for those areas. So that's where it's too cold, where we don't have enough warm air, and you're just in that prime zone if you live just a little bit further south of there into southern and central Arkansas, some parts of Texas, Oklahoma, and then I think it really ramps up back through Mississippi, Alabama, maybe even into southern Tennessee there. So this would be by tomorrow morning, right around 3 a.m. Central Time, 4 a.m. Eastern Time. We're dealing with that rain back through parts of Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas. And then as we fast forward this a little bit, you're going to see these storms start to weaken a little bit. And then as we go through the day tomorrow, that's when they should start to strengthen a little bit. And you're seeing that by 7 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, 6 a.m. Central Time, we're dealing with more of those thunderstorms still moving through. And then that system really pulls away further to the north. We're going to have to watch out. Potentially on the back end, you might see a few pop-up thunderstorms back through this area, and even though it won't look too impressive on the Futurecast radar, you might see again kind of these little dots right here indicating that even though it doesn't look too impressive here, that's kind of the recipe for some potential severe weather for those areas on that back end of the system. And then again, that system continues to move further to the north, and it's pretty much out of here by Friday in the late afternoon. So here's what your wind shear map looks like, and wind shear is very important when you're dealing with tornadoes and when you are looking at potential for tornadoes. Now what we have is a big positively tilted trough, one of the biggest that we've seen in quite a while, that stretches from Ontario back through Arizona. So that little kind of V shape in the lines is what we're dealing with that positively tilted trough. That is where your storm system is right here, and as that swings across, it's bringing in some very strong winds higher up in the atmosphere, and that's allowing wind shear and changes in the wind direction by altitude in the atmosphere. So that's going to allow potentially some hail to occur. It's going to be very light hail and not really too big of hail. I think this really is more of a minor, maybe a little bit of a moderate severe weather event in some of those locations. Now here's the forecasted CAPE, and this is the first of the many maps that we're going to be showcasing in today's video. This is my forecasted CAPE map. So starting out 6 p.m. Central Time today, we're looking at 1,000 to maybe 1,500 through some of those areas in Texas. Once you get above 500 CAPE joules per kilogram, that's where you start to get into some of those more able scenarios to get some thunderstorms. So once you're in that 500 plus area right here, that's where you have a fairly good shot of seeing at least some thunderstorms, and that's of course assuming that you have a couple other ingredients in play as well. And then as we switch, and that should be 12 a.m., but 12 a.m. tomorrow, we're dealing with 1,000 plus CAPE for some parts of Texas, and then mainly a higher area of 500 plus. So this is where we could start to see a few thunderstorms that really could get a little bit severe, and that's mainly throughout this region that's getting impacted with those thunderstorms by that point. And then as we shift this over, 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, we're dealing with 500 to 1,000 CAPE over some of these areas in Texas and Louisiana, with under 500 CAPE back through parts of the southeast. southeast, the south central states, and then it really starts to die down, and we're going to actually see another wave, which we'll talk about maybe in tomorrow's video. That's what some people are talking about with that bigger threat further to the east over some of these areas. We're going to talk about that later in probably tomorrow's video, maybe the day after. That's when we might get another resurgence. So those are actually technically two different storms. We're only going to be covering the first part of that system, under 500 Cape for parts of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. This is where the real thunderstorm activity starts to die down as we go through the day on Friday. So here's your significant tornado parameter, and we do actually have some shot of seeing a maybe brief spin-up tornado. It's going to be very, very weak, but we do have to cover this threat because we do have some chance. The STP, or the significant tornado parameter, is really tracking how good the conditions are for a tornado. Once it gets above that one threshold, which is right here in that light blue, that's when the chances start to go up higher, but we're mainly under that one chance, or under that one criteria there for the STP. So we really don't have too big of a shot, although even if it is under one, we could still see maybe a brief EF0 tornado here and there. So we will definitely want to keep on watching that. It does go up later in the day on Friday. That's that second resurgence that we're going to talk about later in a couple extra videos, but then it really does die out and we aren't dealing with too much. Here are your high temperatures today, and we're going to be this is the second map that we're showcasing today. This is your forecasted high temperatures that you've already seen or that are going to be occurring later on today in the next couple of hours, and this is really going to set the stage for this severe weather event, because we have temperatures that all through parts of the southern United States, the south central and the southeast, that are above 60. Anywhere in that light green, the yellow, or even into the oranges, that's where you're 60 plus degrees. Typically you want to be above 65 degrees, but you can manage some severe weather even if you're 58, 59, 61, 62 degrees. So you don't have to be above 65 degrees to get a decent severe weather event, and it just won't be as strong, but you are dealing with some amount of warm air that's pushing up through these areas. This is above average temperatures for this time of year, and again, remember, we're in late February, so we're going to really have to wait a little bit longer to get into some of those more severe events in terms of severe weather. Here's what your dew points are expected to be for today. So we're dealing with dew points that also aren't too high. We're dealing with that 60 threshold, which is typically where you want to go to be. If you want to be above 60, if you want a good severe thunderstorm, we're not dealing with that for many of these areas. It's more 49, 50, 51 degree dew points, which is still manageable again. And it's going to be a little bit further to the south where you get some of those higher dew points where you might get a few pop-up thunderstorms that are a little bit more intense. Now, if we shift this forward a little bit, this is for Friday, and this is when we start to see your dew points really make it fairly far to the north, central Mississippi, northern Alabama, and then curves back through into southern and western Georgia there, where we're dealing with some dew points of 60 plus, and you could even use that 55 or 50 marker as a threshold for maybe some light severe weather. So we do have some severe weather possible for these areas just based on some of these dew points. Again, the dew points aren't really too impressive, and that's not going to be the main fueler in this storm system. Here's my forecasted rainfall with this event: under an inch of rainfall for all of these areas back through the south central and the southeast, all the way back through the mid-Atlantic. 1 to 2 inches of rainfall. And you can see that's really in that stripe where we might be dealing with some decent severe weather. 1 to 2 inches for these areas in Texas, Oklahoma, back through Arkansas, all the way eastward to North Carolina and Virginia. 2 to 3 inches in that dark blue, and that extends from Texas and Oklahoma, again, all the way back through North Carolina and parts of southeastern Tennessee there. And then 3 to 5 inches of rainfall there for parts of northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, a little bit of southeastern Tennessee as well, and I think most of those amounts should cap out at right around 4 inches of rainfall. There might be a few isolated spots if you get stuck in a thunderstorm that might get over 4 inches, but I think generally through Saturday, and again, this is through Saturday, including both waves of the system, it should be 4 inches or less of snowfall for the most part. Now, here's my thunderstorm risk map, and this is another another one of the special maps that we're going to be featuring this severe weather season, and this is my forecast for the severe thunderstorm risk today and later tonight. General risk, that's where we don't have too much of a risk, maybe a brief thunderstorm, not too intense, mainly just rain or thunder. Low risk is where you might actually start to get into more of a damaging wind situation, nothing too impressive, but then it's that medium area in that yellow shade. That's where I think the worst severe weather out of this event. Nothing too bad for the most part over some of these areas in Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi. And then for tomorrow, my severe thunderstorm risk shifts a little bit further to the north and to the east into parts of Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, back through a little bit of Tennessee and Georgia. That's where I have that low risk. That general risk is a little bit wider there. And then I have a medium risk in that yellow for parts of northern Mississippi and a little bit of Alabama there. That's where I think you could see, again, some more thunderstorms later tomorrow, mainly in the afternoon hours of tomorrow. And we're most likely going to cover that a little bit more in the upcoming videos. Now, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Hopefully, you guys did enjoy all the graphics that we put into today's video. We're going to be showcasing a lot more of them. I definitely have more maps that I'm going to start to make with different parameters. So, if you have any suggestions down below, leave a comment, and I definitely look at all your comments. I answer most of your comments as well. So, if you have any suggestions, if you want me to change anything with kind of the color style, the map style, tell me down below, and I'll definitely start to work on it, because we still aren't into the heart of severe weather season. We still have a lot of time to go. We still have at least 6 more months of this. So I will definitely be making updates and adjustments to my maps, and I'm still going to be fine-tuning these events. So definitely put a comment down below if you have any suggestions, if you also have any questions for this severe weather event, if you're wondering what you and your specific area should be expecting. I'll also be answering you guys down below. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.